The closer the date they decided to make their wedding happen got, the more anxious KyouHaba was. He supposed it was like that for everyone. After all, a wedding was a big, hopefully once-in-a-lifetime thing. But as of lately, the pressure almost started to feel tangible, squeezing him from all sides at once. The days dragged at a snail pace, and yet the time rushed forward at an astonishing speed, leaving him little to no time to plan everything. There was so much, and so little time. He folded his head into his palms, letting out a desperate groan. Why does everything take so much time? He startled when a warm hand squeezed his shoulder. You should rest a bit. You've been sitting over this for almost 3 hours now. KyouHaba sighed and slumped back into the couch, rubbing the tiredness from his eyes. He knew he shouldn't overdo things, that he should rest regularly to keep up a good work-rest balance. After all, they weren't planning anything big, just a tiny venue with only their old Seijo team and their families invited as guests. But the fear that he could accidentally forget something important gnawed on his mind all the time, keeping him in a state of constant tension. You don't have to do everything on your own. Surprised, KyouHaba glanced up, the soft rumble of Kyotane's voice sounding right next to his ear, sending pleasant shivers down his spine. He didn't even notice Kyotane sat down next to him, but now that he had him there, he couldn't stop himself from leaning into his side. It earned him a kiss on the temple, and then the gentle fingers started to play with his hair. I know, it's just, I don't want some minor thing to destroy the whole day. As if that could happen. Of course it can happen. What if I mess something up and the dates will get mixed up? What if the food doesn't arrive? The flowers? What if... The rest of the spiel died off on his tongue when he was crushed in an embrace and brought to Kyotane's chest. Stop stressing so much. It's not good for you. But... Even if everything went wrong that day, as long as I put the ring on your finger and we sign the papers, it's going to be fine. That's the important part. Everything else is just an added bonus. Despite everything, KyouHaba had to smile at Kyotane's way of thinking. He snuggled deeper into Kyotane's arms, enjoying the warmth and safety it always brought into his soul. Yeah, I guess you are right. Of course I am. So stop torturing yourself with details, okay? He pressed a kiss on top of KyouHaba's head and pulled away a bit. Let's go out. You'll come to different thoughts. Now? Yeah, why not? You obviously need some fresh air. KyouHaba nodded, even though he would much rather stay huddled in Kyotane's arms, and whistled at Bruno, chuckling when the pup appeared carrying the leash in his mouth. I guess we both could use a walk. That's the spirit. Come on. Recalling the challenge he was supposed to do, KyouHaba intentionally got up faster than he normally would, leaving his foot behind as if he stumbled over a crease on the carpet. He wavered and yelped when he started falling, too late realizing he probably shouldn't fall around the glass table. Just before he was about to hit it and possibly break the glass, arms wrapped around him and pulled him back towards the couch. A strained huff escaped his mouth when he landed on Kyotane's lap, his heart hammering into his ribs. Didn't I tell you to be careful around the table before? Despite what his tone might have suggested, KyouHaba could feel the worry almost seeping from the way Kyotane held him, from the way his arms stayed wrapped firmly around his waist, and by how fast his heart raced against his back. He covered Kyotane's hand with his, noticing a similar tremble in his fingers. Sorry. Don't be. Just be careful. Please. KyouHaba nodded, his throat tightening a bit. I will. They stayed without a movement for a while, until both of their hearts stopped beating like crazy. Only then did Kyotane let go of him, but still held his hand as if he was worried KyouHaba would fall the moment he got up. But KyouHaba didn't plan anything like that, making sure where he was putting his feet before walking over to the hallway where Bruno welcomed them with a worried whine. Smiling, KyouHaba scratched him behind his ear, the knowledge he had two of his darlings this worried about his well-being making his heart flutter. All's well that ends well. Shall we? He grabbed Bruno's leash in one hand and Kyotane's hand in his other, entwining their fingers. Yep, I'm ready. Rain? Why did my brother just call you a coward? He raised his eyes from the screen of his phone, raising his eyebrow at Suna lying sprawled over his stomach and chest. Suna grumbled something Osamu didn't catch, and slowly turned his head to lean his chin on Osamu's chest to look up comfortably, his eyes still hooded with sleep. He did what? He's complaining and called you a coward. What did you do? Or I guess I should rather ask, what didn't you do? Humming, Suna rolled his eyes and laid back as he was before, wrapping his arms around Osamu's waist as if he was some kind of body pillow. I adjusted his challenge. Which one? Last week. We are supposed to flinch from our partner's touch. I didn't want to worry you. Oh, was that why you always danced out of my reach back then? Yep. Osamu chuckled, earning a displeased grunt. He shook his head and automatically started stroking Suna's hair to soothe whatever horrible thing he did with his laugh. As always, it worked like a charm, and Suna soon slid back into a light nap. Osamu didn't stop playing with the soft brown hair, feeling almost guilty that sooner or later he was going to have to wake him up again to do the challenge. Not that he wanted to scare Suna for the sake of it, he was just curious about how fast Suna's reaction would be. He waited a bit longer to give Suna a few more minutes of rest before he tapped on his shoulder. When that didn't work, he pinched his cheek and gently shook with him, which earned him another displeased grunt and a glare through narrowed eyes. Don't look at me like this. I need to go to the bathroom. Now. Yes, now. Come on, get up. It took a while, but in the end, Suna pushed himself slightly up, only enough for Osamu to pretty much snake his way from under him, grumbling something about not being allowed to take a proper nap even at home. Osamu rolled his eyes in a loving exasperation and headed towards the bathroom. However, he stopped in the hallway, standing on his tiptoes to see better over the backside of the couch. When he was sure Suna wasn't watching him, he looked around, thinking what he could use as an excuse to fall. He shivered a bit, the whole thing reminding him a bit too much of the incident that sent Suna into hospital with pretty serious cuts. Fortunately, there was no window or anything made of glass around where he stood. Thank goodness that Damas chose me for this challenge. Who knows what would happen otherwise. Shrugging, he glanced over to the couch one more time before walking a few steps towards the living room and sending himself to the floor with a loud thud. He hissed when his knees made contact with the floor, pain shooting through his left leg. Shit. Ouch. Suna's head appeared immediately above the couch backside. What was that? Osamu could swear he had never seen Suna move so fast. Before he could even open his mouth to answer, Suna was by his side, his eyes slightly widened as he laid his hands on his shoulders. What happened? Are you okay? Yeah, I just lost balance, I guess. Lost balance? Did your head spin? Do you need a doctor? Osamu grabbed his wrist before he could get up and start freaking out, giving him what he hoped was a reassuring smile while he tried to keep the pain from his face. I'm fine. I think I just stumbled over the threshold or something. I hit my knee, but that's it. That didn't seem to calm Suna down too much, but at least it looked like he wasn't going to call an ambulance in the next second. Okay, then do you want help getting up? Nah, it's fine. It wasn't that big of a fall. However, he hissed again immediately as he tried to stand up, sharp pain shooting from his left knee into his thigh the moment he moved with it. Damn it. Careful. Let me help you. Reluctantly, Osamu let Suna hook his arms under his shoulders and hold him up, his face scrunching when he tried to straighten his leg. Suna gave him a worried look, still keeping a hand on him as if he was worried Osamu would fall the moment he would let go. I don't like this. What if you did something to it? Knee injuries aren't fun, Samu. It can seriously cripple you, especially since you stand most of the time at work. Osamu smiled and pressed a short kiss to Suna's lips. I'm sure it's fine. I'll be careful on it today, and if it's not going to get better until tomorrow, I'll go to doctor. Okay, fine. Sit down, I'll bring you some ice. Osamu did as he was told, torn between melting over his boyfriend's care and cursing his own clumsiness. Taichi loved peaceful afternoons, especially those when Hayato dragged him out to get some fresh air. It almost became a game for them, a tug of war about who would concede first. It was always Taichi, of course, be it because he didn't want to ruin Hayato's fun, or simply because he was in the mood for a walk. It didn't really matter, and it always made Hayato all smiley, which was the biggest reward Taichi could get. But now, as he dragged his feet over the gravel path leading through the park near their flat, he wondered if he should rather put up more fight this time. It wasn't like he didn't want to go out, but his body felt like it was weighed down by a ton of bricks, making even breathing difficult. But as always, he couldn't help himself when faced with Hayato's gleeful smile. He tried his hardest to hide the fact he was unwell, worried it would dampen the mood and make Hayato worry. But considering he could feel Hayato's eyes on him more and more often the longer they walked, he was more than certain his mask wasn't going to last. God damn it, this, whatever it is. He stopped when Hayato suddenly pulled on his hand, the words of protest dying off on his tongue when he noticed Hayato's expression. You aren't feeling well. It wasn't a question, and Taichi cringed inwardly. Why would you say that? Why? Well, maybe because you look seconds before fainting. Taichi flinched when Hayato laid his hand against his forehead, the shiver running through his skin making him realize just how cold the rest of his body was. I've never seen you this pale, and that says something. And you're cold like a pack of ice. What's wrong? Biting on his lip, Taichi looked away, unable to withstand Hayato's gaze. He wanted to deny it, to say that he was fine, just a bit cold. But knowing Hayato, there was nothing he could say to make him believe a lie at this point. I don't know, it feels strange. What does? Everything. I don't know why, it just does. He squeezed his eyes shut, partially to not see the concern materialize on Hayato's face, partially to stop the world from swinging with him. The grip on his hand grew on strength, soon joined by another hand gripping his bicep. Dai? Okay, let's sit you down. Huh? Oh, no, I'm fine. I can walk. His mind blanked out for a second, the rest of the sentence lost to his ears. The next thing he knew were two strong arms wrapped around him, slowly guiding him somewhere, and a soft, rumbly voice by his ear. Careful now, take it slow. As if he could any different. The ground disappeared from under his feet for a while as he got hauled up, and then he found himself sitting on the grass with something rough and solid behind his back. It took a bit before his vision cleared, allowing him an unobstructed sight into the dark chocolate eyes filled to the brim with worry. Stay down, don't try to get up. Just breathe. It will be fine. Daichi did as he was told and took a few deep breaths, desperately fighting the waves of lightheadedness and nausea rolling through his body. The whole time, he found an anchor in the ever-present warm hands laid on his shoulders, the touch keeping him grounded. Quite literally. Better? Daichi nodded, immediately regretting it when the ground swayed with him again, an involuntary whimper leaving his mouth. Not much better. Okay. Damn it. We really need a car for times like this. Though, maybe an ambulance is in order. Who knows if you aren't bleeding again? No, it's fine. I'm fine. A light touch on his cheek startled him. Tai, you're as far from being fine right now as your family from coming to our wedding. Why didn't you tell me you are unwell? I didn't want to worry you. Yeah, so instead of worrying me at home, you worry me outside, where it's much harder to get you help. Taichi flinched, feeling the sharp sting of guilt in his chest. Sorry. Hayato's expression softened immediately. It's okay. We just need to get you to a doctor, that's all. Maya. No discussions. I'm not going to risk that you get worse if I take you home. I know your clothing factors should be alright now, but better safe than sorry. You know what happened last time. Taichi sighed. He did remember, which meant he would be fighting an already lost battle if he argued further. And so he just closed his eyes and slumped against the tree, clinging onto Hayato's hand to keep himself from drifting off. Luckily for Iwaizume, and probably Oikawa too, the atmosphere in the house was now much better than after the last challenge he did. And while there was still a certain tension in the air, it wasn't anything they couldn't work through. At least Iwaizume believed so. If he wasn't going to mess it up with the current challenge. Hajime, can we take a break? Rolling his eyes, Iwaizume stopped and turned around, spotting Oikawa far below him on the trail, visibly huffing his last breath. Already? We aren't even halfway there yet. And? That last part was horrendous. I deserve a snack. How are you a pro athlete again? Still, he headed over to the closest empty patch of grass and took off his backpack, waiting for Oikawa to catch up with him seated on one of the rocks. In the end, it wasn't a bad idea to go hiking again. They were on fresh air, working out, and Oikawa was too focused on his steps and breath he didn't have time to think about the stressful things. All in all, a win-win situation. Exactly because I'm a pro athlete, I don't have energy to spare for this hellish hike. It's one of the easier ones. Think of it as an extra stretching exercise. Oikawa huffed and slumped on another rock next to Iwaizume, immediately digging in his backpack to drag out the numerous snacks he insisted on taking with him. Iwaizume couldn't help but chuckle while watching his fiancée wrestling with the various packages, feeling more at peace than in the whole 2 weeks, before his mind inevitably carried him back to the challenge at hand. He faced more than just a simple problem. 2, actually. First was his promise to Oikawa that he wasn't going to do any challenges similar to the cursed prank. Second was his worry about triggering some bad memories in Oikawa's head by falling during a hike. He wanted to do the challenge before they left the house, but there wasn't a single good opportunity for him. And so now, all that was left was to make sure he was falling somewhere where he couldn't really hurt himself. Let's not sit for too long. Take a bite and let's go. You can eat more when we are finished. The only response he got was an absent-minded hum. He frowned and slightly nudged Oikawa's side to get his attention. What's wrong? Don't tell me you're going to pout because of a hike. I'm not pouting, mind you. Then what's going on? Oikawa stayed silent for a while before sighing deeply. He then looked away, the snacks forgotten. Is this your punishment for how I yelled at you? Iwaizume blinked in confusion. It didn't even cross his mind that Oikawa could take the trip as punishment, because why would that be the case? He had no reason to be resentful, not towards his own fiancée. No? I told you it's fine. You were stressed, and I knew even back then that you didn't mean it. I thought you could come to different thoughts if we went out. Oikawa let out a sour chuckle. Yeah, different. Like the ones where I can still see you on the ledge. Sighing, Iwaizumi put aside his backpack and slid down to sit on the same rock as Oikawa, wrapping his arms around his waist to pull him back against his chest. He probably should have known the thing he was worried about was going to happen at some point after all. Not those. I wanted you to clear your head, not worry about what had been in past. Why don't you finally stop blaming yourself for that one? It's been over a year now, and I'm completely fine. No reason to dwell on it. That's easy for you to say. You didn't have to find a broken railing, or see yourself just lying there with blood everywhere. Oikawa's voice hitched, and Iwaizumi instinctively pulled him closer. You know what's worst about it? If that ledge wasn't there, you would fall all the way down. I could have lost you, and I wouldn't even know how or where to look for you. All because I didn't react when I heard you shout. Toru. I know. We talked about it. I couldn't know you were in trouble, but still. I should have at least checked or something. And what would you do? When I cried out, I was already falling. You wouldn't be able to do anything, and you could meet that guy on top of that. He could have hurt you too. His throat tightened. He chased away the images flooding his mind and nuzzled into the crook of Oikawa's neck, the urge to make absolutely sure his beloved was there, alive and well, taking over him. I'll take everything that happened to me over you getting hurt. He felt Oikawa freeze in his arms before the grip on his hand turned into actual shackles. Don't say stuff like that. But it's true. Hajime. Now, listen. This was the best outcome out of bad outcomes that could happen. Let's be grateful for that, Oikawa seemed to want to protest further, but then just sighed and sagged into his embrace, snuggling into his arms. I guess.